Warning. Strong language is used in this video.
G'day, Brian here from Since Spacies, and in just a moment I'll be featuring 3 awesome YouTubers from around the world. As I say for the very first time, welcome to the Since Spacies Show.
Since Spacies.
G'day invaders and welcome to Since Spacies, and this is the very first episode of the Since Spacies Show. We have terminated the podcast and it is now an outright show, and I have got 3 awesome guests from all around the world. We are going to start from my left to right. We have got Whatheshow, Joe and Dustin. How you guys doing?
What's up, Since? What the show?
Doing good, man. We're doing good.
And we've got Pixels Ltd. We've got Sam. How you doing?
Hey man, g'day. How you doing? You alright?
And we have got Tom from Laptop. How's things?
I'm going pretty well, thank you.
Okay, so we have got 2 new people on the show. Now, even though this is the first episode, I'm going to maintain the whole first appearance questions going. And so I'll start with Sam. The 3 questions are your very first console and games that you played on it, or first game that you played on it.
Right. So my parents owned a Commodore PET, the CBM, which was like the very first Commodore. It was incredibly basic. So there were the games on it are very much games in inverted commas. They're like sub Atari 2600. They're like really basic. But then the first console that I owned that was mine was a Sega Master System 2, and I got it for Christmas with 4 games. It came with Sonic the Hedgehog built in, which is amazing. Land of Illusion, which is Mickey Mouse 2, which is one of the best platforms ever, I think. Tasmania, which is a kind of average game, but amazing graphics, and for me, I loved it. Because the cartoon was amazing, I loved the cartoon. And Sonic Chaos, which was the exclusive kind of Master System and Game Gear game where you could control Tails.
Have you still got that?
Control Tails and fly.
Have you still got it?
Yeah. I've got like the.
It's rare, man. That's rare. That is hard to find, that version. It really is difficult to track down.
Yeah. I bought it. I bought it brand new. I remember reading previews about it in magazines and being so excited. Like before I even had the console, I was like, oh man, if I ever get a Master System, I want to get that, because I loved the fact that you could control Tails and you could fly. Whereas even in like Sonic 2 on the Mega Drive, you couldn't really do that. And in 2-player and stuff, kind of. But the fact that you could have like a full game and you could choose to control Tails and fly through the level, I just thought was so cool.
Yeah, it had a whole different dimension to it. It was great.
For sure.
Yeah.
It was originally slated to be on the Mega Drive because we got to play the beta version when I was working at Sega, and they were so we had the ROM board chips, and I remember feeling that it had potential, but it was kind of broken. It didn't feel kind of complete, and it was an incomplete ROM at the time. I don't think there was even a title screen. It was just you went straight into the game. We got a lot of stuff like that, and they threw all those out. That really. Yeah,
that sucks if they're like all those prototypes just lost to history like that.
Some guy in Sega of America, he actually he took the liberty of stealing them, and he uploaded them to the internet, which I was just too honest to do. I mean, I would have loved to have kept those, but I didn't want to lose my job, and even when I was leaving there, I just couldn't bring it to myself to steal anything. It's just not in me. So I regret that now. I should have I should have taken on my convict past ways, but anyway. Sam, back to you. Favorite game of all time?
My favorite game of all time is
sitting.
I jump around, but I really, really love Nights into Dreams on the Saturn. And especially I always play the Christmas one at Christmas. Like every year I'll bring out the Saturn and play that game. But I just, that's such a fantastic game for score chasing and just getting it down pat. If I wasn't going to choose that, I really love Super Mario 64. I complete at least once a year all the way through. Panzer Dragoon Saga and Final Fantasy VII are both up there as well. Like I complete them both regularly. Yeah, I love those games.
Yes.
And what are you currently playing?
So I've just recently got the Street Fighter collection, and I'm a big 2D fighting game fan. I'm like obsessed with all the Capcoms. I've got pretty much every Capcom game. I've even owned Capcom arcade machines. I've had a Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo and a Marvel vs. Capcom. And I had a Neo Geo MVS as well. So I used to collect all those. So 2D fighting games is my thing, really. But as for a more modern game that I'm playing through, I've just got the latest Tomb Raider game, which is good, but the plot's a bit not great. And
is that British for it's a bit shite?
Oh shit!
No,
That's the
I
second
enjoy it. I don't like the fact that the graphics are so realistic that when Lara dies, it all becomes a bit torture porny for me. It's a little bit too. It's a little bit too graphic. Like when she like impales herself on spikes and things, I feel like, I prefer the old. It's less abstract. It's more abstract, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, and Tom, we move on to you. So, your very first console, and what game did you get for it?
So first console that I got, so when I was about 4 or 5 years old, my mum got me a GBA. So that was the first one I got. However, before then, I actually played in the Dreamcast. My cousins had a Dreamcast at their house, and I don't remember the first game I played. It might have been like Crazy Taxi or something.
Nice.
And I was, Crazy Taxi is a great game.
You're making us all feel really, really old here, but.
Yeah, I know.
Just me?
I think the GBA is one of the first consoles I bought with my own money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think the first game I got, I can't exactly remember. I think it was Mario. Might have been the Mario Kart in that.
For the GBA?
Sonic Advance games. Yeah, it was one like the first games I had in that was Sonic Advance, the Mario ports, and the Mario Kart for that system. I actually only just recently sold that GBA, so to get a Game Boy Micro. So.
Nice.
Oh, you got a Game Boy Micro, cool. I picked one up when they were being sold at a reduced price in David Jones here in Sydney, and I got mine for $50. It's like, what?
I paid £20 for mine. £20. They were literally rid of them.
Are they really, really small?
Yeah, they're tiny.
They're
They're absolutely
How
tiny.
small, guys? Like,
They are tiny. They're probably maybe this big, I reckon.
Oh my
They're
god.
basically the same size as an NES controller.
Yeah, that'll be a fair point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very
small.
tiny.
Is it just a
Maybe
screen?
controller.
Yes, probably. Screen's in the middle. You just. Oh my god.
But it was one of the first consoles to come out where it had a decent LCD screen. It wasn't one of those rubbish ones, the first
It was,
generation.
The screen is tiny, but it's really good quality.
and it's official Nintendo, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
This is new to me.
Back up there. The box is
Oh, look
back
at
I think I've seen my guess. I don't know.
Mine's over here.
So back to you, Tom. Your favorite game of all time?
So for me, it has to be a tie between.
No, fence sitting. Sorry, you got to pick one.
Yeah, okay. Probably it has to be Sonic Adventure. That's probably one of my favorite games. Even though it hasn't really aged very well, I'm just a massive Sonic fanboy, and I always get to every year I do a full playthrough of the game, even the crappy big story mode.
Okay. And
Yeah.
and what was the other one that you were thinking about?
Link to the Past on the SNES. That's a really, really good game. One of my probably the best Zelda game I've played.
I'm still playing Link Between Worlds at the moment, and I'm loving that because it's really
Good, yeah.
it's taken that original game that you're talking about there, and it's not treating it with any disrespect at all. It's really trying to do a modern take on that original game, but with a new twist to it. I love it, and it's generally hard, and I'm resisting the urge to go online and find any sort of solutions to it. I'm just trying to get to complete it on my own, but I'm at the point now where I'm thinking I might have to look that up. So,
Link Between Worlds is a pretty good game. I've played it.
Yeah.
Really like
If I can be controversial for a second, I actually had more fun with Link Between Worlds than I did with Breath of the Wild.
What?
Just put it out there.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Put it out there.
I love it. All right.
It's a great game. Don't get me wrong, but it was so open ended that I actually.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with it. Yeah, there's like, and the story's not.
The story's just not there. So
It's not. It's
I
more just like a.
actually think the story in Breath of the Wild's the weakest point of that game.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
It was like they spent all their time and effort trying to put this awesome world together and all the mechanics that go with that. And it was like, oh crap, we've got to have a story with this too. We'll just make it the same as usual.
Zeldas are like known for the story too, so it's like, yeah.
And
Most
Tom,
of 'em.
what are you currently playing?
So at the moment, I'm playing a lot of Rocket League. I got the game a couple of months ago. I've really been enjoying that game. I play some Overwatch, but of the recent games, I just picked up Spider-Man on the PS4. Really enjoy that. Really good game. And just recently, like just this week, the Fallout 76 beta just came out. Yeah, PC, it's not that great, but still a pretty decent game so far from what I've played.
Okay. And what are you guys currently playing?
I am playing the F out of some Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yes.
I'm trying to complete that. I'm on the 150 at 3 stars and everywhere. It's rough. It's really rough. I thought it was like, all right, I'm gonna scale up, right? I'm gonna and like 50cc so easy. You're in front the entire match.
Yeah.
Easy. 100 cup, you're in front the entire match, super easy. And then 150cc, everything can turn in the last effing second, and you're eight.
Yeah, from
I'm
one
like, it's
one
killing
shell, we'll be like.
I'm like, this is done. I'm over.
Yeah.
I managed to do I went through the 150 on the Wii U, but I haven't bothered going through and doing it again on the Switch because I found it hard going. The 50s and the 100s, no problem, but it was hard going the first time on the Wii U. I'm like, I'm not doing it again on Switch. I'm just not.
It's such a monumental jump.
I found 150cc to not be so challenging, but 200cc, if you've ever played that is like ridiculous.
You can jump. You can overjump. You can overjump the track on certain jumps. You got to really, you got to be careful when you're going over jumps that you don't boost because you'll just overshoot. Yeah, it is that fast.
I haven't even tried 200cc yet.
Yeah, I'm ready for that.
And what are you playing, Joe?
I am playing. I'm playing this game. It's like it's called Into the Breach, and it's kind of like this like indie game made by the people that made like FTL.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a strategy. It's like an 8-bit indie game that's like a strategy. It kind of reminds me of like Final Fantasy Tactics, but quicker. So it's like it's that same kind of mechanic where you have different like people that can move certain ways, but it's like time based. So it's kind of it's hard to explain, but it's just quick. So you like jump in, play the quick match, and the matches are probably about like 4 or 5 minutes. And then you're at it again, and it has permadeath. So when you die, you lose everything. And it's like, I just recently got to the last level and died. And like, he was like level 13, and it was like, it hurt my soul. And it's just, I lost everything. And I was just like, fuck.
It's all I talked about at lunch one day.
I was so pissed. I was so
Dustin,
pissed.
you don't understand. The last level, Dustin.
Yes.
So we're going to get kicking into the first question. So we have got a pretty difficult year when it comes to picking Game of the Year. We've got big. I think it's for me the three most obvious big hitters are. Trying to figure I know Spider-Man's one, and you've also and you've got obviously Red Dead Redemption 2, and the God of War. Yeah. That was the other one.
God of War.
Man.
War.
So I personally haven't played any of them.
Me neither.
Yeah.
So I'd be only commentating from the sideline when it comes to which one of those would be Game of the Year. I would like to find out, though, what you guys would class as... I'm going to split this into two. What do you think will be the Game of the Year outright? And also, what has been the best game you've played in 2018?
Does it have to be a game from 2018, or is it...
Okay, no, we'll open that up to just any game that you've played this year that has been your favorite game that you've played this year. All right. So, who wants to kick off?
Yeah. Well, out of those 3 games that you mentioned, I must admit I bought all 3 of them because I like to try and buy games when they're new to support the games industry and the developers. And I played each one of them for I installed them, which is a bugbear of mine, just how long it takes to install games nowadays. And then I played all of them for an hour or so each to get an idea of if I liked them.
Right.
And then I just haven't dedicated any more time. They're all good games, very impressive. The one that I found the most instantly fun was Spider-Man. I'm imagining that Red Dead is going to have the longest life in a similar way that people are still playing GTA 5 and finding new things to do with it. But I mean, my personal, I'm more of a retro gamer, so I really love kind of arcadey style things like racing games and fighting games. But also that I'm a big Sonic fan, so my game of the year is hands down Sonic Mania Plus. Just no question. That's the thing that I've played the most. And my game of the year last year would probably have been Sonic Mania.
Enjoy.
Yeah, and your review was dope, Since. Your review on that was awesome.
Thanks, man. And it's kind of weird that I got the review code for that. So, yes.
Nope.
Tom, have you got any input as to we're going to split this into 2. So the game of the year that you think will be game of the year for 2018, and the best game that you've played in 2018.
So obviously, objectively, the game of the year, well, that's probably going to get it. Easily Spider-Man. Spider-Man's, I've really enjoyed it every hour I've played. Huge fan of the character. That's why I pre-ordered the game pretty much when it was announced. But this year, I think from what I've played, it doesn't really count. But Smash Ultimate, from what I've played at Oz Comic Con.
You played Smash?
I played Smash. Yeah, I played Smash Ultimate. They had it.
Dude, I'm jelly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Normally I wouldn't count that because it's an unreleased game, but it is getting released in 2018, so it will get.
From what I've played of it, it's absolutely knocked my socks off. It is the perfect Smash game.
Would you say
I would even consider it better than Melee.
Sorry, Sam. What was that?
I was just asking, would you say it's significantly better than Wii U? Because I loved the Wii U game.
I said it was better than Melee.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, no. But is it better than Wii U?
Oh yeah, it's better than Smash 4. It's better than Brawl and 64.
Yeah.
Okay. I was on the fence about buying it because, Sam said, I've got it on the Wii U, and I just figured, what's the point? I've already bought all the additional. I hated having to buy that additional stuff, by the way.
But that's that.
That really killed my bank account because you got to buy it for both the Wii U and then on the 3DS. So I was like, man, this is killing me.
What?
Yeah. You didn't just get one and then it was for both. There was a deal where you paid a little bit more for both, but yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
That's for later, right?
That's another.
But it was
that's
characters you couldn't resist as well. It was Cloud from Final Fantasy and Bayonetta and Ryu from Street Fighter. It's like I've got to have Ryu. I've got to have Cloud.
I'd pay for Bayonetta, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Bayonetta.
I want Ryu. I want Ryu.
Ken's in a new one. Ken Master.
Isn't Bayonetta banned from the professional?
No, I don't think there's any characters banned for that. But I know on Brawl tournaments they ban Meta Knight.
Okay.
Yeah, because he can fly around the whole time, can he?
Yeah, he's honestly pretty broken in the game.
I always thought Bayonetta seems really overpowered, but that goes with the character. The games are just so bombastic and ridiculous and over the top. But for multiplayer, if I've been playing local multiplayer, I'll be like, don't choose Bayonetta.
Odd job. It's an odd job.
But I just watched the direct just before starting this podcast.
Yeah.
Sakurai, we do not deserve that guy. He is just a tank. That guy, he puts his whole soul into those games.
Yeah.
And why? I was just about to say, why is it that guy looks younger than me and he's older? Like what?
Healthy living, man. That's something. He lives at work. That's his life.
He looks younger now than he did back in the early 90s. There was a picture of him when he was releasing the very first Super Smash Brothers, the Smash Brothers game. And then they showed a picture of the most recent picture. He looks younger now. That's just nuts. So, did you guys end up coming up with a contender for Game of the Year there at Whatheshow?
I think it's I guess it's not controversial, but every person I talk to about Red Dead, every single person has been like, I don't know yet. Like, I don't know, it's kind of like I don't have time to play it, or like it's kind of slow, or the controls are clunky. So I don't know if it's gonna be. We'll see if it'll be Game of the Year. But like I remember when Grand Theft Auto came out, everybody loved it, and there was no questioning. There was no one on the fence. Like, but like everybody I know that has Red Dead is just like on the fence. So it's just like
I've heard so many people say the controls are broken or the controls are frustrating. I literally saw people in my Twitter feed going, "I'm loving this game, but I'm quitting because the controls are frustrating me."
Yeah.
Just so much.
I heard they did that on purpose though to make it like you have to manually reload the gun and all this other stuff. So it's like realistic.
I don't really.
But it's.
I don't want that.
But I'm loving seeing the Twitter feed of all these. I guess you could call them Red Dead Redemption 2 fail videos where they get off their horse and then they punch the horse by accident. Oh, no, sorry, horsey. And then the horse comes out and kicks them. And
Honestly, I haven't actually played Red Dead 2, to be honest. So
no, it's still early days. Still early days.
It's still early, yeah.
I think, Smash is there for me.
I think Smash will be good, yeah.
Yeah, Smash is. I can't wait to actually get my hands in it and actually play it. But I've played the unreleased version of it, and it's really good so far.
Yeah.
I'm loving
it. A lot of I haven't played a lot of new games. Like Mario Party, Super Mario Party has been fun. Yeah. But Smash, like, that's the only game I've been looking forward to, and I've been looking forward to that all year.
I think
Mario Party is actually the first decent Mario Party game in a long time, because I bought all of them because I like to support Nintendo, but the one on the Wii U was it was terrible. It was,
Really? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
The same with the tennis games. Like Ultra Smash on the Wii U was awful.
They
but
phoned that in.
the
They
Switch,
phoned that one in. Yeah.
Hey, how's Aces? Is Aces good?
Which
Super
one?
Mario good, sorry?
You guys the tennis one?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The Switch one is just a lot more fully featured than the Wii U one. The Wii U one, I love the Wii U. It's one of my favorite consoles. There's great games on it, but by the end of the life, it got to the point where like Nintendo knew no one's going to buy this anyway. We're not going to put any money into it. So if you buy it, Ultra Smash was like a full price game. It was like a £50 game, and it's so bare bones. There's almost nothing to it. There's no career modes. There's no story mode. It's nothing.
Would you say Aces is worth the $60 or pounds or whatever it is? Full price. Would you say it's worth it? Because I was on the fence about buying.
If you've ever enjoyed a Mario tennis game before, it's probably the best one there is, and certainly for like couch multiplayer, it's amazing. It's just so much fun to get some mates around and have a pizza and a beer and. So yeah, but I think it depends how much you're going to play it in multiplayer. In single player, there is content there, and it's a lot better than the Wii U one. But honestly, I'd have been happier at a kind of 25 to 30 price point rather than the full 50 to 60.
Right. Like 40, yeah, exactly.
It feels like even though it's a good game, it shouldn't be the same price as something like Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey.
Right.
There's much more.
No way. Yeah, that's
right. No.
Mario Kart 8 too. And so I do have my personal game of the year, but it didn't come out this year, and it might be a little bit controversial. Can I say? You want to go there?
Yeah, do it.
It's hyped
I can't wait for the comment section.
Angry Birds 2.
Oh no!
I play that game every day for at least an hour.
Games.
What? I got all the boards. I'm like in this double something cup every week. I can't stop playing.
All right.
What year did the first Angry Birds come out?
What year did the iPhone come out?
That sounds fair. About 2007 or 8, thereabouts.
2007.
What about content? There's new levels every like 2 weeks. It's insane.
I remember when my niece and nephew visited here from Japan, and that's all they wanted to do was grab the phone to play Angry Birds. And so I accommodated, of course, and I jacked the phone up to the car stereo sound and put it up absolute maximum sound. The looks I was getting from old people walking past, and that just shot the audio. I
love that game. I don't care.
All right.
I'm
No,
not in college. It's amazing.
I don't think you're going to get too many votes supporting you on that one, but still.
It's free. I got so much free content on that game. It's nuts.
I love
About
Angry
the-
Birds. When it first
hundreds
came
of
out, I
dollars.
really got into the Angry Birds Star. I'm a big Star Wars fan anyway, but I really got into the Angry Birds Star Wars 1 and 2. They
That's a
were
good one
really
too.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little yellow bird where you can shoot the blaster.
Yeah.
The
I even
was
bought
like
the
bird.
I even bought the kind of semi-full price actual console versions rather than just having it on your phone. You could buy like a PlayStation version and a Wii U version. I actually bought them just to have them in a box, but I've not played 2 yet. On your recommendation, I will play 2.
Two's so good. Download. It's free.
Yeah.
I've only played the old Angry Birds when they're on the phone. I actually haven't played the original.
Yeah,
Okay.
same here. I'm with you. I
2
haven't played the new
expands. Exponent. It's awesome.
More birds.
More birds.
Okay.
Yeah. There's
Cool.
hats. There's
Okay.
power-ups.
Okay.
There's so much. There's
Did you watch
tournaments
the-
every week. It's
Did
insane.
you watch the movie?
All
I've
right.
never
Oh,
seen
that movie. Oh,
what looks
God.
like horrible movie.
Oh,
Terrible.
no, yeah.
You guys saw it?
I've watched
I
bits
was
of it.
Tom
I
saw it.
have.
Is it good?
I watched it on a flight. It was a shit movie. Really not good.
Yeah, don't hold back. All right, so this next question is actually one that got a lot of feedback and input on Twitter. So I put a question out, a vote actually, on are games too expensive in 2018? The premise for this question is that when I was working at the Gamesman, where video games are our game, they had new. That was their slogan.
We only have GameStop, pretty much. But anyways, all right.
Okay, so they you would class them as a mum pa style type shop, but
Okay.
but they've been in it from the very beginning. So they've got commercials that go right back to the Atari 2600 era. They started in 1982 and they're still in business today. So, and I was working there in about 95, 94, 95, thereabouts. So, but
And do you still support them and buy your games there?
I haven't been there for a while, I must add.
I live in Sydney myself. I've never actually been in one, so.
There is only one store. But I bought this cap there, so there's that. So,
There you go, exactly.
but what I was going to say is that the games that were being released when I was working there, so for example, a new release, Micro Machines 2 on Mega Drive, it was around about the $90, $100 mark for that. Australian dollars, okay?
Oh, okay.
That's confusing.
Australian dollars. So,
What is that in US?
It's like,
A hundo?
about 70, about 60 or 70 American.
Okay. It's like N64.
So fast forward to 2018, a new release is still around. Red Dead Redemption 2. You can get that for $79 at Big W, which is kind of like your Walmart in America, and that is a first-class game with 200 hours of gameplay available to you.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't get the DLC. I get that, and that's been one of the biggest argument points that people have come in at me with. Oh, but when you buy a game these days, you're not getting the full product. But a full product game these days is way, way more than what you used to get back in the 90s. So, rather than me putting my points forward as to video games too expensive or not in 2018, I'd like to see who here has got an opinion on are they. Yes or no, are they too expensive? And if so, why? Why not? Or why?
Okay. I play a lot of indie games, so like a lot of times the indie games are like cheaper. Like I just bought that. Well, I mean, Into the Breach. Dustin's gonna be a face, but that game was game's $14 everywhere, and then on Switch, of course, it's $29.
Yeah,
And
Switch tax.
this other game, Binding of Isaac, I think that was $15 on the Switch. So like smaller companies are making. I kind of respect that smaller companies are a little bit cheaper, but so I don't, for what it's worth. But yeah.
And we have so much more in the way of options now, compared to that.
Agreed.
So
What are you getting a $200 or are you getting a 200-hour game for $15?
I like them. I played them for a long time.
Right, but like you pay less to get less, right?
You're not getting the AAA graphics and stuff, yeah. But the story's there, and the thinking and the puzzles are there. Super Meat Boy. Look at Super Meat Boy. That game was like $12 or $15.
New?
Yeah, when it was brand new, it was $29.
Okay.
But it wasn't 60, so it's like you get a lot of gameplay out of it. I have, you maybe not, but I
30
have.
seems steep for me.
I do find some indie games.
That's great.
I do find some indie games to be like better than some AAA releases, though.
Yeah.
Got any
That's true.
examples?
Sure.
Got any examples?
So examples. Cuphead, easily.
Oh, Cuphead.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Cuphead,
Yeah.
easily that. Easily
Yeah.
that, and compared to.
That
like
have to
some
be the
AAA
king of
releases.
indies at the moment. That game.
Would that be a AAA?
I really like Meat Boy as well. Super Meat Boy.
Yeah, Super
That's
Meat
a
Boy.
really good game. It's really not easy though.
Yeah, later on it gets rough.
Yeah, we abandoned our Let's Play for that.
We did.
You left that in the pile of shame.
Yeah.
Sam,
Anyway.
what about yourself?
I can totally see the argument that games are very expensive nowadays, especially with things like season passes and DLC, and you can pay loads. But from a perspective of a AAA game, I'm just aware that how many hundreds of people it takes to make those games, and they all have to be paid a wage, and they're all working unpaid overtime and everything else. So in a way, if you think of the games in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up, some of the most famous games only had maybe one developer. There might be one programmer, one guy doing the graphics, one guy doing the music. That was it, and that was a game. So it was a lot easier to make your money back, I suppose. But I do feel that some games are too expensive, and I must admit a lot of the time, like I'll hold off on that and I'll buy it later on when it's reduced, or I'll get it on a Steam sale or whatever. But I do with Nintendo, I like to try and support them, and with Sega, I like to try and support them because I've got some kind of retro kind of nostalgia. I feel like I owe them something, so I still buy their things.
Nintendo needs your support.
Yeah. But I was thinking about this. The one kind of interesting perspective that I can bring, being the only guy from the UK, in the 80s and 90s, there was a real dichotomy of the 16-bit games like the Mega Drive and the SNES games. Some of them were really expensive, like Virtua Racing launched at £100, Donkey Kong Country launched at £80. Street Fighter 2 Turbo launched at £70, and the reason for that was because of either the extra chips in there. Star Fox was expensive as well because the extra chips in the cartridge, or because of just how much memory was on there. The more megabytes were in the cartridge, the more expensive the game was, and they were horrendously expensive. But at the opposite end of the spectrum, we literally had things like the Spectrum, the Amstrad, the Commodore 64, where in the UK, the #1 selling games on the charts were regularly $1.99 or $2.99 budget games being made by British developers, but getting good reviews and ending up being the #1 best-selling games. We had a whole series of games, Dizzy, who I don't know if you guys got. He was eventually ported to the NES and Mega Drive, but it originally started off as $1.99 and $2.99 games.
Are you talking?
And of course, people didn't even necessarily.
Sorry, what was that, Joe?
£1.
People didn't even pay that though, because one person would buy a game and it was on cassette, and then you'd copy that cassette between all your friends. And then when it switched to the 16-bit thing with the Amiga, again, everybody, more people had an Amiga than had a Mega Drive or a SNES, and they would just pirate the games and just buy floppy disks and copy them. So you had this dichotomy of if you wanted to sell a game on the Amiga, if you were developing one, you had to make it cheap. And it's one of the reasons why the NES failed over here is because it launched late, and when it literally came out in 1990, they were trying to sell Super Mario Brothers 3 at the same time as Super Mario World in the shops. They were released the same year. And Super Mario Brothers 3 would have cost you £50, and when at the time people were pirating games and you could buy a brand new legitimate game for £2, no one was going to pay £50 for Super Mario 3. And I was saying to Brian earlier, it was actually Sonic that was technically so much more impressive that it made people go, oh, do you know what? I couldn't play that on my Spectrum. I couldn't play that on. So many people bought a console for Sonic, and so many people bought a SNES to play Street Fighter 2. Nobody bought a Street Fighter. Nobody bought a SNES before Street Fighter 2, and nobody bought a Mega Drive before Sonic.
Oh wow, interesting.
I got
So yeah,
something
you
to-
have to. These games were really cheap and really expensive at the same time.
I've got something to add to that too. My example of prices of new games, Mega Drive games in particular, and it would have been the same for the Super Nintendo. Although I remember from memory that the Super Nintendo games were just a little bit more expensive here. But we'll call it, say, $90 back in 1994. If you were to adjust that amount for inflation, it is $152 in Australian dollars by today's standards. So that gives you a true reflection of how pricey games were. Plus, you got other aspects involved as how much was the average person earning back then? What was the expenditures on bills back then like compared to now? I don't know. I just can't help but feel that my argument is that games are in fact cheaper, are more affordable today. However, they are on a more competitive play field or platform than it was back then. It was easy to get the attention of gamers back in '94 compared to now in 2018.
There's so many options now.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm getting at. It's just, and plus also I guess it's in hindsight like. NES was competing against the freeloaders who were playing the Amstrad, who were copying the crap out of it. And to a lesser degree now, where people releasing console games are competing with Steam sales and indie games that are out for almost nothing. It's changed.
And free games like Xbox Live Pass and stuff.
Yes. Well, free. Yeah, I get what you mean. though.
Free in inverted commas.
Yeah.
Is it worth mentioning too? Like, just different people are buying games now as well. Like the people that grew up playing Nintendo are now grown up and had the money to spend on AAA games, like God of War, Red Dead. Like, I don't know how many kids buying those games or kids getting their parents to buy those games. It's us, and we make a living.
One thing I would say that's interesting, not necessarily the price of games, but the price of games consoles has actually come down significantly. If you think about in the 90s,
absolutely.
like the Saturn launched at £400, which adjusted for inflation now is like £750, £800.
Jesus.
And the CDI, I have a catalogue of that Christmas when I got my Master System. I have a catalogue from that same year, and the CDI came out, and it was £500, which is well over £1,000 now. And that didn't even include the expansion to be able to play the video CDs. So you could pay £1,000 and still not be able to play video CDs on your video CD player. It's insane.
Did you guys, when that was around, did you guys have a lot of other friends that had it too, or no? Was it just you guys?
No, the only other console that I can compare with that would be the Neo Geo. I knew one person that had a Neo Geo. That was it. And that was like the most luxurious console that I can remember. It was released at around about the same time as the the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo were big. It was arcade in your home, but man, for one, the cartridges were like Goliath size, bang, and the pricing matched too. The pricing of those things was at least 2.5 or 3 times more expensive than the Sega Nintendo consoles. It's crazy.
And I think they've held their value. They're still expensive now. The AES is the one system that I don't collect for. I collect for every other system except the AES. I've got MVS carts. I've got literally arcade MVS carts, but not AES carts because it's just such a money sink that I was like, I can't justify it to myself, And
is it? Have you got a Neo Geo? Is it?
Me? I've got an MVS arcade machine. I've got a 4-slot arcade machine, but I don't have an AES.
Okay, and the cartridges for those come in those boring brown boxes, right? There's no artwork or anything.
Yeah.
That's a fail. But that wasn't the market. There wasn't the home market for that. They were being pushed to shop owners. Yeah. And
they're always really beat up as well because they just come from arcades. So they're always in terrible condition. But it's obviously they're exactly the same game as the AES ones, but they're just so much cheaper. And of course now on Switch you can get them for like £6 a game or whatever. And it's a decent emulation.
It's a decent port, yeah. I would have to say that there are... Okay, so that vote, I'll put the graphic up for the vote that I did. The vote was that no, they're not more expensive now. That won, but it was like pretty close. It was like 60% got across the line, and 40% of people said yes, they are expensive. So... Yeah, I think that was a contentious, and man, there was a few people getting pretty heated in the discussions on that one. It's like, okay, calm down, we're just talking here.
In order to stop people getting heated, it may be worth pointing out that yes, they are. No, they're not as expensive as they used to be, and yes, they are better value now. But some people do take the mick with things like loot boxes, loot crates,
has to be mentioned,
grab bags, and stuff in full price games. You can get a full price game with a season pass, pay over £100 for your season pass, and still have to get loot boxes to get your content. That's taking the mick. Like again, I'm a big Star Wars fan, but Battlefront 2 was just awful when it came. It's terrible for that.
Battlefront 2, prime example of when a game is too expensive, when you have to pay like $20 to get Darth Vader in the game.
Yeah.
Oh, lame. It's lame. Damn.
Yeah, people felt ripped off by things like that, and I think that's why it's such a contentious issue. That's why people get so angry about it. But it's just people pushing it too far. Like EA pushed it too far, now they're reining it back again. So hopefully it'll self-police in the long run. Yeah. Because the internet doesn't let you get away with shit.
No.
Well, it doesn't until a month later, and it stops caring.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. All right, so this week, the Mega Drive or Genesis, depending on which part of this silly world you're living in, it celebrated its 30th anniversary. It was released this week in Japan 30 years ago as the Mega Drive. My memories of when it first was being announced was getting really bad photocopied articles about this machine, and I remember the first thing that stood out was two things. One, that there was a sequel to Space Harrier, which was like my favorite arcade game at that time, that was being announced, and I remember getting super excited to be able to play a decent version of that in the home. And I remember reading the article raving on about how crystal clear that speech was in the game when you get hit, and then when you get up, get ready, and that really just you got to remember, this is in a time when speech in a game meant get ready. So and the other thing that really stood out was the controller, the kidney-shaped controller, compared to the Square NES, Square
so much more comfortable to hold.
Oh man, you don't get the corners digging into your hands after hours of use. And it just looks sleek. The system itself looked like something out of Batman, is what I keep referring to. It just looked high tech. It had a headphone socket with volume control. That was something new back then. So this was like Sega saying, we are going to take sound in the game and music in the game serious enough that you want to turn it up. That was the message that I was sending. So I have a question here. What do you think was the Mega Drive's finest moment in your books? Anyone want to kick off on that?
For me, back in the day, I used to play Sonic nonstop with my cousin watching me over my shoulder all the time. I'd just be watching, or we'd take turns back and forth. And then one day he got, I hadn't heard of it, but he got that little add-on thing that adds Knuckles to Sonic, that adds Knuckle into the game. Yeah. And then we were playing together, and it was like crazy. It was crazy. Or it added Tails, I think, too. And we were playing as Tails too, or something. And I just remember that was like cool that we could play at the same time. That like changed my mind. I was like, what is this? This is pretty cool.
That was almost like the first ever DLC, because what happened was Sonic 3, when they were programming Sonic 3, they basically, as far as I understand it, they had all these ideas and they made all these levels, and then there wasn't enough space on the cartridge. So the full game of Sonic 3 is actually, if you get Sonic and Knuckles and you plug Sonic 3 into it, that is actually the full version of Sonic 3, and you can play every level from start.
That was the way they intended it to be released, yes.
Yeah, that's how they intended it to be released. But again, going back to price, it was really expensive. Like at the time, I did have a Mega Drive, but it would have cost me £50 to get Sonic 3, £50 to get Sonic and Knuckles, and I already had Sonic 1 and 2, which I'd got second hand, and I was like, I can't justify spending £100 on more Sonic.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I mean, now I love that game. It's amazing, but at the time when I was a kid and I had limited pocket money, I was like, I could get 15 Master System games for the price of that one Mega Drive game.
Yeah.
So, you know. But it was crazy because it literally was kind of like the first ever DLC.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
What? We can play together.
Certainly for cartridge anyway, like the first cartridge expansion pack.
Yeah.
So from a hardware point of view, the pinnacle moment was Sonic 3. Having it so that you could plug in Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles and then Sonic 3 on top, expanding on the game and changing the game as effect. So that would be your most pinnacle moment for Mega Drive. Yeah?
Yeah.
What about the Mega CD or Sega CD? Does anyone rate that at all?
I am a huge unapologetic fan of both the Mega CD and the 32X. They were, yes, in a way they damaged Sega a lot and they were way too expensive when they launched, but there are games on the 32X which I will still happily play to this day, and there are many games on the Mega CD which I just could not live without. So for me, my Mega Drive, I don't really like the design in the Mega Drive 2. I like the Mega Drive 1, like you say, with the proper audio output and the but for me, my Mega Drive 1 is naked unless it's got a Mega CD 1 underneath it with the tray that comes out, and the 32X on the top. And then...
What about the karaoke?
Yeah, I want one just for the sake of being cool and looking cool stuck on the side, but I'd never use it, so I've never...
The karaoke, for those who don't know, for the Mega Drive to be in its final form, so to speak, it needed to have the Mega Drive 1, not going to go down to 2, the 2 sitting up there, by the way. I only just picked up my first Genesis branded Mega Drive just this year, so I was really glad to get that from the States. Was the Mega Drive, the base 1, Mega CD, base 1 again underneath that, and 32X sitting on top. Like it's this high.
Yeah, it's good.
And then the one thing that eludes most collectors, including me, was the Japan-only exclusive karaoke add-on, which went on the side and made this machine huge. And you've got a power outlet for the 32X, you've got a power outlet for the Mega Drive, a power outlet for the Mega CD. And then you got the karaoke with its own. That's 4, and they're big chunky plugs. They're not just little. They're not just little plugs that take up one spot. Yeah. And Sega had to actually release a dedicated.
Yeah, they made their own power strip
or power board, which was spaced out with the word Sega across it, and that would allow you to plug in.
Yeah, so I actually had the problem of having the Mega Drive, the Mega CD, and the 32X, and needing all 3 power adapters. But a standard UK power strip, you couldn't put the 3 plugs next to each other because the plugs were too big. So you actually had to have 2 power adapters separately, 2 strips. You couldn't just have 1 strip with 3 plugs.
But in 2018, someone has come up with a solution, and they have come up with one adapter which outputs outputs to all. So yeah, I kind of wish I had that back in the 90s.
The karaoke thing, he won't forgive me, and if I don't mention this. The only person that I've ever met who has that karaoke thing is Damien McFerrin, who runs Nintendo Life and Push Square. He's a massive he's a massive Sega fan from back in the day. He actually, how he started in the industry running all these websites is he used to just run fan websites for the old UK like games magazines, like Games Master and Mean Machines and Super Play and all these magazines. And he set up a website, and then that website just grew, and now he's basically, I think he's co-owner of Nintendo Life and Push Square. It's amazing.
And I got to give a super shout out to him, because he pushed one of my videos on that channel, on that website, my unboxing of Sonic Mania, and that made my channel go boop. So that was pretty cool.
He's a lovely guy, but he's also just so passionate about the game. He's like the best person to be working for those websites, because it's somebody who genuinely is a dyed-in-the-wool gamer, you know.
Any other key moments? Any other games that come to mind besides the Sonic hardware?
Virtua Racing.
Yeah,
Virtua Racing?
Easily.
it was amazing. The first time I saw Virtua Racing on the Mega Drive, it was incredible. The only sad thing is that like 3 months later, it was completely eclipsed by the 32X game, which is just better in every way.
Like the base Mega Drive version of that game represents the apex of what the hardware could do.
Absolutely, yeah. No, absolutely, yeah. As stock hardware, that is the most impressive thing. And the SVP chip, you know, I'm a Nintendo fanboy as well as a Sega fanboy, but the SVP chip is just way more powerful than the Super FX2 even. It's a much better chip.
So
I wish they'd have made more games with it rather than.
It was just the one. It was just the one, yeah. I paid $199 for Virtua Racing. I've mentioned that on my podcast in the past, and it's the most expensive game that I have ever bought, with the second most expensive game being Super Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo, and that was also a $200 or near enough to $200 game. Games in Australia back then were just incredibly expensive. So when I hear people, going back to the other question, when I hear people complaining about the pricing of games in Australia,
right?
I've heard that games were like ridiculously expensive in Australia in like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. The cartridges, the 16-bit cartridges in the UK were ridiculously expensive, very similar to the Australian ones. I remember seeing they were even on the TV shows at the time, the UK TV shows about gaming, which we were very lucky to have actually, because I know a lot of places didn't. But they would talk about how much cheaper the games were in America. They'd compare the price of a Genesis game versus a Mega Drive game, and it was literally like half the price. Half the price. I feel like we would be amiss if we jumped past the Mega Drive without mentioning Streets of Rage, especially Streets of Rage 2 and the soundtrack. But also anything by Treasure, like Gunstar Heroes, Alien Soldier, Dynamite Headdy.
That's a good one.
Just everything that Treasure have made is amazing.
Forgot about that game. Oh yeah.
Did you have a game that you wanted to shout out or mention?
I do. We had Super Nintendo, right? My whole neighborhood was Super Nintendo. Genesis was not around. One dude had Genesis. And the only thing I remember that it had that Nintendo didn't, was Mortal Kombat and Blood.
Yeah.
Literally, the only reason I wanted a Genesis was to rip off people's faces with Sub-Zero. And, rip out everyone's heart with Kano. And that was like...
That explains a lot about you, Joe. That explains so much.
But Mortal Kombat 2 is so much better on the SNES. Yes. And again, I'm a Sega fanboy, but Mortal Kombat 2 on the SNES infinitely better than the Mega Drive one.
Did it have blood when it got to the...
Was it green on SNES though?
I think it was sweat.
No, on Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat 1 it was. Mortal Kombat 2 it was completely uncensored. Didn't even know the code.
Most of the also with Doom, the 32X port and the SNES port. The 32X version of Doom is a lot better than the SNES version, but the music is garbage.
Terrible. It is absolute rubbish. Yes.
Although the SNES version has better music.
Yeah, I do like the SNES music of Doom, but the 32X version graphically and performance-wise is definitely one of the best.
The frame rate and the resolution on the SNES Doom is, to me, it's unplayable. I know some people love it and they have nostalgia for it, but for me, it's terrible. Whereas the 32X game, it is cut down from the PC one, but it's still very playable. I still, just for kicks, I still play it every now and again just to show what the hardware can do and go, look, I'm playing Doom on a freaking Mega Drive, you know.
I just find it really... oh man, it just shows up how old I am now. That system is 30 years old. I still remember when it got announced or the first time I heard about it. It's just hard to believe that it came out in 1988 in Japan, and it took 2 years just about before it got officially relaunched here. I got it before launch because I was just tired of waiting, and I got mine imported. I had the original Japanese model, which I still to this day think is the best looking model out of the three. And it's just got that unique look about it with the purple little strip, which the Genesis got as well, but the gold 16.
The gold 16.
Just blazoned across the top. There's just like, get this in you, Nintendo. That was like it's such a huge up yours to Nintendo at that time.
Yeah.
So I do want to quickly ask one quick question. I know we've gone on quite a bit, but I've got so much to go. I've got a question here for Tom. The reason why I got you on the channel was, one, you asked, but two, you did a really cool video on the history of Sega World. So you never got the chance to go though because you were too young. Is that correct?
Yeah. Actually, I was on I wasn't even born until like a week after it shot. So
wow, that is. But you guys, if you haven't already watched it, there's a video that he's done, a documentary on the life and death, I guess you could call it, on Sega World, in great depth.
Yeah, it's an excellent video. I went and watched it last week when I found out you were going to be on the channel, and I went back and I watched it. It was excellent, really good. I wish I could have gone there.
I definitely have improved video quality since then, but...
Oh no, don't be ashamed of it at all, man.
I know. It took me like 6 months to make that. So.
Oh, wow.
You could tell how much research had gone into it, and the script was excellent. It was really tight, and you'd obviously just gone into a real deep dive with information about it. I thought it was great.
And please, guys, do watch it because my video then gets automatically selected afterwards as an auto select with the save Sonic and Sally statues video. It always seems to be those two videos tie into each other now. So I just thought I'd mention that was one of the main reasons why I got Tom on here. Also, Sam, I was looking into your channel, and you do put some rather long, extensive videos out there. Some big editing going on in those. But another thing that I only just found out this morning, that you were in Star Wars.
Yeah,
you even get a line.
I actually in the script I had 9 lines, but in the final edit it's only 1. I say I'm in Rogue One and I play Torius Cord, whose handle is Blue 2. He's one of the Y-wing fighters. He fought in the Battle of Scarab, which is interesting because even though it's a tiny character, with Star Wars they go into so much detail about everything. And that character that I am now immortalized as playing, there's novels about that character, or there's novels with that character in. There's magazines, comics for that character. And I have my own Lego man. I have 2 of them here. I have a minifigure. This one is just a generic. This is a generic Y-wing fighter, which is, I'm a Y-wing fighter, so that's my uniform. But this one, I can say genuinely is me rather than just a Y-wing fighter, because it's in a set, and the set is actually recreating the scene that I'm in and I've got my line in, so I know that Lego man, that's
awesome.
me.
That is awesome.
My one line into the film is, just let the girl speak.
Oh my god.
I have the Sonic one here, but that's about it. I got the Sonic one they released.
I've read it.
I should point out that because people will be wondering how did I get into Star Wars. I started off in the music industry when I was 16, and then I slowly moved over to TV and film, and I've worked on like hundreds of films. I mostly do editing and VFX work. But I've done freelance contract work on and off for Disney ever since I was like 18, and I'm 36 now. So every now and again they'll throw me a bone, and I get offered like, oh, come be on the latest Marvel movie or whatever.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
With Star Wars, it was amazing because they actually, like I say, I had 9 lines in the script, and they gave me my own trailer. My trailer was right next to all the main actors, and I had my own hair and makeup lady. I've starred in movies that are very low budget, straight to DVD or straight to Netflix or straight to like basic cable at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Those kind of horror movies, yeah. I've starred in those movies, and when I starred in movies, I didn't get my own trailer. But in Star Wars, 1 line, and they gave me my own trailer. It was amazing.
Play a sec, that's it.
That's awesome.
All right, so this is the part of the video where we switch over now to the Twitter followers. And I put out a question an offer to people to throw in their questions. The responses, wow. So, yeah, some of them are special.
Morning guys, just on my way to work, very much looking forward to the Since Spacies show. So my question for the guys is, which games console do you consider to be the worst ever? So big question, look forward to hearing your answers. Cheers.
Alright, so that was Maz Gaming. He's asking what is the worst console? Go to town, guys.
I got one. I got it my dad got it for me for Christmas, and he surprised me with it, but it was a Virtual Boy.
Yes! I was about to say that.
My eyes would be burning.
Eye-bleeding garbage.
It was the worst.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and I had like 2 games for it, and I hate
Tennis.
tennis.
What, tennis?
I had tennis, that's what I have.
Yeah.
Only 1 game. And it was awful.
I just get this picture of little Joe and his dad going, "Oh, so do you like the present?" And you coming out with your eyes just bleeding. It's great, Dad.
Good night, Joe.
I just played because I had to.
Oh, this is so great, that thing.
I played Virtual Boy games on the emulator before, but I wonder what it'd be like to try it out on the actual console. I know
Stay
that
away.
You're not missing
There
out.
are some good games on the Virtual Boy. The Wario Land.
The Warrior game's pretty good.
The Mario Clash is quite decent. There's a game called Jack Brothers, which is really expensive, but if you play it emulated, it's a really good game. But it was such a flawed system from the start. It made no sense. I don't know what they were thinking, to be honest with
I was
you.
reading the wiki and it said it was giving people eye problems too.
I think objectively, like, the worst game system would probably have to be the CDI. Like, I don't like. Obviously, the Nintendo games. The Nintendo games on that, they're just laughably terrible.
Yeah.
Almost like liked ironically.
Yeah.
Of how bad they are.
Shitty Link games, right? With the bad animation.
Yeah, the Zelda ones are definitely the worst.
Zelda.
And there's Hotel Mario
The
as well.
Hotel Mario, it's definitely the best of the Nintendo games, but that's not saying much.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna quickly move on now to the second question. So this one is from Savage Gaming Show. So I'm gonna quickly cut to that.
Hey, Since Spacies, it's Savage here from the Savage Gaming Show. My question for you is, who is your favorite fighting game character?
Who's your favorite what game?
Favorite fighting game character. So Street Fighter, King of Fighters, that sort of thing. So who is your favorite character?
Goro. Goro. I want every MFer out there with Goro and MKX.
That is all he plays.
You're going
as
down.
when we play. It's
There's
like,
no
oh my god, Goro
sense in
again.
even trying.
I'm a big animation guy. I studied animation with Don Bluth and Richard Williams, and I've done a little bit here and there. And for me, the stop motion on Goro, I loved it. I just thought that was so cool that they went to the effort to stop motion, you know.
Okay. Tom?
Probably. I'm gonna go with my main Street Fighter, Zangief.
Oh, okay. You like hugging people. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Dying better than his playability.
For me, Raiden on Mortal Kombat. That character just kicked ass when he first came out. It was just such an epic character, like with the whole lightning and the eyes just lit up. It was just such a powerful character. And we played. Like, this is a true story. On our lunch breaks at the Sega Hotline, we'd go up to the local shops and we would all challenge each other on the local Mortal Kombat machine for a lunch break. That was something that actually did happen.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'm a huge fighting game guy. Like I said, I've got way more fighting games than is necessary. I really love SNK fighting games. I really love Capcom ones. I'm really boring with Capcom though, in the sense that my main is Ryu. It always has been. I always thought the fireballs were so cool.
Yes.
The Hadoukens and the Hurricane Kick, I thought was so
And he's
cool.
like iconic though too. He's like Ryu. Like,
Yeah.
you know where he's from.
But it's boring because it's the stock character.
No, he's badass.
But with Mortal Kombat, I just always Mortal Kombat is objectively a worse game than Street Fighter from a technical standpoint, but I just loved the fact that the characters were so mad.
yeah.
Mortal Kombat 2 is a lot better, but if you talk about the first Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter is infinitely, technically a better game. But I loved the fact that the characters were so crazy. And for me, I really loved Sub-Zero and Scorpion. I just thought the design of both of them was awesome. The fact they could freeze people, freeze the ground, throw the spear if it's Scorpion.
Yeah.
But I hated Mortal Kombat 3. I hate Mortal Kombat 3 because Scorpion wasn't in Mortal Kombat 3, and Sub-Zero, for some reason, isn't wearing a shirt, but he's got the weird bandage thing covering his nipples. I don't... What's going on with that?
All right, we've got to move along. Got more questions to get through. So this next question is from the Gaming Muso. Here we go.
Question for my friend, Since Spacies. Question is for Samuel, Pixels Ltd, and I'm not really drunk, so I'm going to do it properly. You were recently in Star Wars Rogue One, my friend, and a brilliant performance you did as well. But I would like to know, what is your favourite Star Wars game of all time, and why? Cheers.
All right, after that very dramatic performance there by the Gaming Muso, this is a question aimed at Sam. Your favourite Star Wars game of all time, and why?
Okay, well, I mean, obviously you're the host, but I feel like this should be opened up to everybody because everyone's going to have an opinion on Star Wars games. There's so many of them. But firstly, I just want to say Gaming Muso is a legend. I love him. And also Savage Gaming Show is a really good friend of mine, and he's just such a good guy. He needs more subs. He's only got like 100 subs. He's just got there, and his content is incredible. He needs more.
Yeah.
As far as Star Wars games, there's so many that I love. I really love the trilogy of Super games.
Yes.
Super Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Super Return of the Jedi. They were amazing. They made such good use of Mode 7 and everything else. I really got into PC gaming in around about 94, 95. So the X-Wing and TIE Fighter and X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, they were like the closest thing to actually flying a real X-Wing. You know, you felt like you were in the game. They were so impressive. The 3D was so impressive, and the storytelling was really good. And I really also like all of the Star Wars kind of RPGs, and so Knights of the Old Republic and that whole series. I just, I love them because when I was a kid, like I know, like I'm saying, oh, I've worked on different Star Wars movies. I've worked for Disney. I've acted in a Star Wars movie. Yeah, whatever. When I was an 8-year-old kid, I watched those films on VHS over and over again, and I had the toys, which I got like secondhand because we were poor, we couldn't afford them, but I got them secondhand from like cousins, and they were all falling apart and falling to bits, but I loved them, and I just played with them and obsessed over them. So Star Wars for me was such a big thing, but it was because I loved the world, and I wanted to imagine being in that world. What would it be like to be there?
Yes.
So I think that's why any game that you can full on feel like you're in it. So like with X-Wing, you're flying an X-Wing, or an RPG where you can truly live in the world. That's, for me, that gets me every time. Although a friend of mine who runs a retro gaming shop, Tom from Super Tomato, he would kill me if I didn't mention the arcade machine. The original Atari arcade machine was just an amazing experience for anybody who saw the cockpit machine the first time and got in it with the vector graphics. It was just an incredible experience. And me as a Sega fanboy, I would point out that the kind of updated version that Sega made on the Model 1 Star Wars Arcade, which came out on the 32X as well, great game on 32X, but the arcade game obviously is even better. And really that's like a modern version of it takes the vectors and puts them into polygons, so I love it for that. But
all right, gotta move on.
That arcade machine was an incredible thing.
We've got a few more to go through. Wow, I wasn't expecting such a long answer.
My favorite Star Wars game is Star Fox 64.
Or as we call it in the UK, Lilac Wars.
Oh no, don't. Or Star Wing. That was the other one. Okay.
Yeah, Star Wing on the SNES and Lilac Wars on the N64.
All right, so the next question we have got is from Carbon Knights Gaming.
Hey, Carbon.
Hey there, invaders. It's Poseidon H2O here from Carbon Knights Gaming, and I have a quick question for the panel. What do you listen to when you're gaming when the game soundtrack is so bad it makes your teeth hurt? I listen to anything depending on what kind of game it is, but if you can be more specific, go ahead. If you can't, well, that's cool too. We'll see you on the YouTubes, everybody.
So the general gist of that is, if a game soundtrack is so bad, what would you switch over to? What kind of soundtrack would you go to? Anyone?
I like listening to Game Step on Spotify. So it's like 8-bit dubstep. I listen to that when I'm playing Mario Kart or Mortal Kombat sometimes. It's amazing.
I'm going to kick in with this one. I never listen to anything else except what the game music is. So
Same.
Same
here.
Yep.
I've never.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah, I do the same as well.
Even
What
like,
about racing?
no, I will listen to the soundtrack. Even if it's really pitiful and bad, that's the way the game was designed. I will make my ears bleed and listen to it. But no, I never switched out. Even the Xbox 360 had that feature. I used to do it, but then it would cut out some of the sound effects and it would cut out some of the. It would act up a bit weird. It wasn't acting the way the game was designed to be played. So I would then switch back to just listening to the game itself. And I know there's a few people out there who also are like that too. They can't listen to any other soundtracks or any other noises or any disturbances. They want to be in on the game and in on the atmosphere as it was designed. Tom, what about you? You got do you listen to other soundtracks?
Same. I have the same view as yours because sometimes the bad soundtrack, it's part of the experience. That's my take on it. So if you're playing a shitty game and there's a shitty soundtrack, then just listen to the shitty soundtrack. Part of the game. The only time I actually don't do that is when I'm playing some Doom ports like the 32X version. As you say, I swap it out for the PC.
The 5 minute one?
No. This is from Top Loader. Yeah, I'll just play it and let you react. Here we go.
Spacies, thanks for the time limit on this, but you know what? I'm here right now, I've got my hat on, so obviously I'm going to ask the most obvious question. Who has the best hat selection out of all you motherfuckers sitting there? Hey, tell me, who's got game? Who's got game with their hat? Have you guys got game with your hat? Or you just got plain old hats? You got a hat like this one? Tell me, what's the answer to that? Can you answer that? Right now, here and now, can you answer that? Wait a minute, I have a drink. Look, she's a big one. Just like my hat. Big personality. Or is that just me? Maybe it's a bit of both. Who controls me? Maybe it's the hat, maybe it's just me. Well, anyway, what was my question? Oh yeah, who has the best hat selection? So, here I am, asking the question, who has the best hat selection out of all you motherfuckers? That's it. All that rambling for one little tiny question. Peace out, homies.
Top Loader, love your work. But last night you were really on the terps there, weren't you? Having a good one. I don't know what's wrong with my game. What's wrong with my hat action? I don't go all far. Actually, hang on. Right. There we go. Yep, there we go.
Yes.
Is that right? Hang on, Tom, show that again. Sorry. Oh, okay.
So I just have this Mario Kart 8 hat.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's legit.
That's awesome. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the only gaming related hat I have.
Oh, I got stacks there, but yeah. But I think Top Loader really needs to.
That hat's really elevating this podcast. Then.
I'm gonna switch back.
I love it.
No, the Sonic hat's good. I like that.
No, I'll stick to the regular hat. All right, so yeah, Top Loader contributing as always. I forgot to put this in when we were talking about video games expensive. I actually got an input from Cameron Hans. I'll let him take it away. Hang on, here we go.
EB games, they really suck. Take a look at their prices, what the fuck? $99 for a brand new game. What are they thinking? Are they insane? You know what I do to avoid that place? I go somewhere else cause they're a disgrace. There's too much red, there's too much blue. I don't think they know what to do. I don't need no rewards card, I just want the game. Is that too hard? They don't have discounts on RRP. EB games are not for me. Whenever I go in, they look bored to tears. It's as if they haven't had fun for a million years. When they're having sales, it's far too long. Is it because there's something wrong? The last game I got there, you know, the guy at the counter said he didn't like Mario. The heck are you doing working at a game store? I've had enough, don't want to deal with no more.
rip my headphones.
Man's got buzz for days.
Killed it.
I can't rap for nuts, and I starred in a rap video just recently.
Yeah, that was talking about. You had your rap video. I did.
Basically, he's rapping on about how much he hates EB games and their pricing. Personally, I've had some bargains from EB games, so I can't really complain. But I don't know. I guess he's got a point there. I'm not really sure. What about you, Tom? You'd know about EB games here in Australia. You find them too expensive, or?
Yeah, generally. I don't actually buy much games from there. It's either off Steam, off the eShop, or go to like Big W or something. Okay. Like that's where I get my Nintendo games from. only for like pre-orders, I go to EB Games. But apart from that, no.
All right, I think we have gone on quite long enough here, so we might wrap this up. Guys, this has been awesome. First episode of the Since Spacies Show. I'm going to just go to what the show. I just want to find out with you guys, what are you going to be featuring on your channel soon? Are we going to get your set back? What's going on there?
Yes, we are. It's coming back. It's going to be set up in my basement.
So for those who don't know, someone sent in a bomb and blew it up. That's a true story.
We got one piece of fan mail, and it was nowhere.
Yeah.
So currently in the process of rebuilding, and you're currently playing the Super Mario series, and you're also doing react to horror movies. That was the last couple of videos you did.
Yeah, well, yeah, Halloween here in the
Halloween.
States.
Yeah.
Halloween's big here.
Yeah, it's pretty legit.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned. We're playing a lot of Switch coming up. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a normal craziness soon. I promise.
Yeah,
I promise.
We can't do the party game. The party games only work in the basement, so we got to get the basement situated before we can do more like.
It's hard to get sloppy.
At a park
Anywhere
down the
else.
street.
Yeah.
And again, for those who don't know, there's a lot of pie throwing in their videos. Pies in face. Although they're moving away from that, but
legit.
People come over there to your channel for the pies, but they stay for the gags.
That needs to be a new slogan.
Come for the pies, stay for the gas.
Yeah.
Sam Pixels Ltd, what do you got coming up on your channel?
Okay, so by the time this goes live, my Halloween special will finally be up there for this weekend, which is a deep dive that's got my top Castlevania games, my top survival horror games, and my top Master System spooky themed games. And in with all that is just a whole load of celebration stuff because it was a bit like a Halloween party. Then after that, I've got a special coming out with Octavius Kitten, who is amazing, and Teddy Rubskin from America, who is hilarious. And people in the UK will know the Funhouse Twins from TV. We're all doing an episode together, and that covers the games from 1988 to 1991 on the release of Sonic. And then finally, I'm making a Sonic documentary, which has so many YouTubers involved. We've got Nostalgia Nerd, we've got DJ Slopes, we've got Octavius Kitten, just G to the Next Level, just so many people, like 20-odd YouTubers from America, UK, Australia.
And I think I'll be contributing somewhat to that too.
Sorry, and yeah, hopefully Spacies will be in it as well. I've invited him, so just got to send me the videos now.
Yeah, I'll get onto that. And Tom, what do you got coming up on your channel? Are you working on any documentaries?
At the moment, I have a Nintendo 64 flashback video I'm currently working on, and at the moment, I'm not really doing too much content because I've still got my HSC to finish up, which is just 5 days left, and I've got 2 abandoned documentaries in development at the moment. I'm going to announce them on Twitter later, but at the moment, it's just I've got 3 videos I work on. The N64 video should be up around mid-November.
Guys, can we just take a moment to comprehend what he's just said? That he is still in high school and he's putting content out like this. When I was his age, I was doing the Sega Times, and I was only just about 1 year off getting into working for Sega full time. So it just puts it into perspective. Like, yeah, like. So much more we can expect from you in the next couple of years, I'd reckon.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to end with something new for the Since Spacies Show. I'm going to pick one of you guys at random, and then we're out of here. I'm going to pick What the Show. What the Show. You guys have got to ask the next guest. I pick a random guest with your question. This is going to be called Press Continue. So we want you to just ask the next random guest, because you don't know who they are, a random question.
Gaming related?
Yes.
Alright.
No pressure.
I know, right?
Worst game?
Worst game of all time.
Worst game with the most hype?
Oh, okay, most overhyped like game?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, what's the
All right,
game?
done.
point to.
So the press continue question from What the Show will be the worst, the most overhyped game that disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, done. All right.
Nice.
All right, so that is a wrap, and I won't bother going on about what's coming up on my channel. You'll be seeing that soon enough anyways. We are going to have to wrap it up. This has gone on way too long enough. My name has been Brian, and I've been gaming since Spacies. Thanks, guys.
Since Spacies.